So recently, over the last maybe 2 weeks or so, I feel like I've had a lot more people calling me and asking me what is the best camera to get for my first camera. And honestly, I think I pretty much have told everyone that if it's your very first camera and you're trying to spend less than $1,000, that they should pick up the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, I get that some people are Android people, so I'm sure the Galaxy is pretty close, but this is definitely my go-to for the first camera they should get. And as you probably can guess, most of them pretty much kind of roll their eyes or kind of ask me for another solution, like should they get a GoPro. But today's video, I want to tell you guys why I personally think that yes, the iPhone 11 Pro is a professional style camera and why I think it should be the first camera you pick up. And honestly, why it's the best first filmmaking tool you should have. What's good, creative fan? Brandon Washington here. First of all, if you're brand new to the channel, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button because this channel is all about filmmaking gear, tips, and tutorials. And today is day 1/day 2 of the creative challenge, and that's where I'm going to be posting a video every day, Monday through Friday, for the entire month of November. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about my new favorite camera, which is the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, I don't typically get excited about new phones, primarily because I'm not really a phone person. I'm more of like a photography video person, so I'd rather spend all my gear on photo and video stuff. But I have to say that this iPhone 11 Pro camera, in fact, primarily the wide angle lens, has absolutely blown me away, and I have found myself picking up my phone and creating more fun stuff just using my phone than even picking up my new cameras. Now, I know a lot of the guys who watch this channel are either new into video and photography, or they've been maybe doing it for a little while, trying to pick up gear here and there, and they're trying to decide, is it worth moving on from their phone to something else? And here is the thing I say about gear in general. Gear should do two main things. They should, one, inspire you to want to create more, and two, it should simplify the process. If your gear does one of those two things, then you know that you're actually moving in the right direction. And I can say that with the iPhone 11 Pro, it does both of those things. It inspires me to want to create more, but it also simplifies the process. Because I always have my phone in my pocket, whenever I'm out and about with my family or doing stuff like that, I can always capture those moments. And honestly, the quality is so good, which is the very first thing I want to talk about with this new iPhone 11 Pro is the quality. Now, the iPhone 11 Pro shoots 4K at up to 60 frames per second. Now, I know when you hear something like that, you're like, well, doesn't the 1DX Mark II shoot 4K 60? And doesn't the Panasonic camera shoot 4K 60? And yes, they absolutely do. But I will say that all of those cameras shoot it at a much higher bit rate. But I have to say, the iPhone 11 Pro's 4K 60 still stands up pretty darn well, especially when you move it off the phone and over to your computer. See, in the past, I think that was one of the weakest points of the iPhone, was the fact that once you moved it off the phone onto your computer, the quality pretty much started to break down. But with this new iPhone, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, I've been shooting a lot of content with this new iPhone since I picked it up the day that it came out, and I've been loving everything, so much to the fact that I've been putting out little short family videos here and there over on my Facebook page for our friends and family, and I just love filming with it. Another big thing is that Apple recently just did an update on the phone which allows you to actually switch your actual frame rate and quality inside the actual camera app. So this means that now you can switch from shooting in 4K 60 to 4K 24 down to 1080p if you want to do that. But I love that now you can do that inside the app itself, which allows you to be more creative in the way that you film from your phone. Now, as I touched on, as great as the quality is, I think the fact that the 3 camera setup that Apple chose to go with on this phone is really where this thing is groundbreaking. First of all, they've always had a 1X, like a normal kind of mid-range, like 24mm style camera. Then they've always had like a 2X times lens to go alongside it. But now they have added the ultra wide angle lens, which to me is my favorite type of lens. I mean, in fact, like wide angle lenses are by far my favorite lens that I buy. Like I always have multiple wide angle lenses. Like for example, right now, I have this guy here, which is my Laowa 12 millimeters. So this is kind of like an ultra wide angle lens that I could throw onto a DSLR or mirrorless camera. And then I have this guy here, which is my Sony 16 to 35. So this gives me a nice range of wide angle. And then I also have this Sigma just 35 millimeter prime lens as well. And I also have a Canon 16 to 35 millimeter lens. So needless to say, I love wide angle lenses. I want whatever camera I'm shooting on to have ability to shoot in wide angle. And now the fact that they have brought that over to the iPhone makes this like, I mean, I'm pumped about it. Like, I really love this lens. Now, when they announced this lens, the one drawback was that they said that this lens was not going to be optically stabilized, which means there wasn't going to be like a motor stabilizing this lens. But I can tell you that it's really not that necessary because it is such a wide lens. If you're shooting handheld with the lens, it still turns out really, really good. But I will say, if you pair this lens with like a DJI Osmo Mobile 3, which is the gimbal that I picked up for this phone, you are going to be blown away with the type of wide angle shots you were able to get out of this lens. So if I love the wide angle lens so much, well, what about the other two lenses? Are they just pretty much just throwaway lenses? And I can honestly say they are not. Like the 1x lens and the 2x times telephoto lens are absolutely great lenses as too. I think probably my favorite thing about all these lenses is that when you switch from the wide angle lens to the 1x optical lens to the 2x times lens, there is no diminishing in quality or color or resolution. All three lenses shoot seamlessly together and they are all really, really sharp. I think the only time you're gonna see a real major difference is in low light situations. And then one more last thing that I really love about this phone is the software improvements that it does to the actual footage. So with the iPhone 11 Pro, it does this thing called Smart HDR, which allows for it to basically try to expose for both the highlights and the shadows and kind of blend those together to give you a more balanced looking image. And the iPhone does this better than any camera I've ever seen. Now, no other camera has Smart HDR, but other cameras will have what's called dynamic range, and they'll have multiple stops of dynamic range where it's able to preserve information in the highlights and the shadows. But what the iPhone does in this area basically far outweighs any camera I've ever seen. Even if you can take the camera into your editor and try to adjust certain things, the iPhone just does a far better job at being able to preserve your highlights and your shadows. Now, as much as I love the iPhone 11 Pro, I mean, pretty much I've been ranting about it for like the last, I don't know, almost 9 to 10 minutes. I have to say that there are a few things that I don't like about this camera and this phone. And they're pretty small things, but they are things I think you guys should know about. The first being that in the built-in camera app, there is no way to actually control like your pro settings. So that is one area that I really struggle with this iPhone. I believe that everything you get should help you progress to the next thing. And so the built-in app doesn't allow you to start practicing with things like shutter or ISO. For that, you kind of have to go to a third-party app. And I honestly haven't found like a really, really good third-party app to shoot video with. Probably the closest one that I found is the Moment app. But if you want to have all those pro controls, you have to pay extra money, so there's kind of a drawback there. But for the most part, that is one huge con that I find with the built-in camera app. You know, when you pair this phone with the gimbal, in my honest opinion, there's really no better solution for just run and gun quick creating, especially if you're just creating for yourself. Now, I did a video not too long ago showing how I shot an actual real estate video just using the iPhone. And honestly, I think that video turned out so well. But if you guys want to know how you can actually use this phone to do that and actually make money, you should definitely check out that video. But that just goes to show that this is not just a device, a phone, and a gimbal that you could use to create stuff for yourself. You could actually make money off of it. Now, are you gonna be able to make thousands and thousands of dollars per shoot using the iPhone? Probably not, but you can at least get started and especially create for yourself. And you know what? If you're doing this creative challenge with me, then I honestly think that it is a great solution for you. You know, the iPhone 11 Pro isn't like the best camera ever made, but I have to say that it is probably the best camera that fits in your pocket. And as of today, if you are out there and you are trying to be creative and you're trying to create on a consistent basis, Don't overcomplicate things. Make things as simple as possible. And as of right now, I think the simplest path is definitely shooting with an iPhone. And the other pro tip is the reason why I recommend going with the iPhone over any other camera, especially when you're just starting out, is this thing is not only just an amazing camera and can shoot great quality, but you can then also edit everything right here from the iPhone. That's huge. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you are interested in learning more about how I film using the iPhone 11 Pro, leave those down in the comments. Also, if you are down with the challenge and you've been doing the creative challenge with me, first of all, thank you for all the great feedback and all the great comments that I got in the last video. Check down below. I'll have a link to a private Facebook page for everyone who's doing the creative challenge. So that way we can share our videos with each other and everyone can kind of grow from each other doing this challenge. But thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you have any other questions, you know what to do, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Keep creating, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.